And this is how they're going to line up for PLR Racing. Ben Pitch lines up alongside Jack Constable for Skull Club Racing. Will Abraham for MJ Tech Racing has Racy Mitchell for GMR Eco alongside. Third row, Mikey Porter for the Morpheus Racing team has Paul Ellis Smith out of the Fueled Up Racing team for company. Then Paul Turner's Greenheath car and Gareth Williams for Red River Sport 8. Ninth is Mark Burton for Wave 9. And at driver 61, Scott Mansell goes first. For the JPR Snug Investments team, Andy Bicknell, and for Seed Data, it is going to be Mike Devlin who will go first. Then for Team 3, Motorsport, Andy Bennett. For Signature RV, John Whitehead. 15th, ex-Formula 3 racer Guido Basile for High Peak Racing, and Chris Wetherall starts first for Axiometrics. In 158, the Team Summers car, Gary Summers will start, and alongside him, Scott Fitzgerald for the Team Uvio Hoffman's Motorsport team. Then on the 10th row, in 246, Simon Coles for Race Logic, David Denyer. GCI Racing put Ian Wood in first, and Team Ratters Racing is Ratcliffe Senior. Peter Ratcliffe, the back row of the grid, 104, that's the EDF Motorsport for Hire Adam Cunnington started car, and the reigning champions, Team Olympian GRD, are going to put Chris Dovell in for the first and third stints. It is going to be Ben Pitch on pole position in the all-red car on his outside, Jack Constable. And as the lights are about to change, the first round of the Fun Cup Endurance Championship is underway then. The cars accelerate down towards Old Hall Corner. And who is it going to be then to grab the advantage? It is going to be Ben Pitch, who from pole position then gets the race lead, turns through the corner just ahead of Jack Constable, and there, a little bit squirrely coming out of turn 1, out of Old Hall, the Uvio car with the pseudonymed Farkini Diot to go first. Scott Fitzgerald, Chris Randall, his co-driver, and experienced pedallers both. So Ben Pitch leading, jinking left and right there to try to break the toe, get away from the opposition as they make the run along Lakeside Straight for the first time. But you've got 3 for the lead really, because they're not able to make a break. The beauty of this, of course, with everybody having the same base car, is that it's all down to driver ability. And so running in third place then as they come now out of Shell Oil's corner for the first time, Mikey Porter for the Morpheus Racing team, winner in an Aston Martin GT4 car here 2 weeks ago, just under 2 weeks ago, and adapting to something very different indeed as the cars now squirm their way out of the Britain chicane up towards Hilltop for the first time. Whoops, bit of contact there, one getting all siders at the V-Box car, and David Denyer, I think, with the wheel of it getting a bit sideways as the leaders drop down towards Hislops. And not only is Ben Pitch not getting away, but the line of cars queued up behind him is getting greater and greater all the time. So it's a long queue, all to try to be in the lead of the race as they come now up through Hislops, accelerating through Knickerbrook, then up Clay Hill. And who do we see? Is it still Ben Pitch? It is, but he can't get away at all here, Scott, can he? Because he's got the rest of them queued up behind him.
And this is the great thing, it'll practically be like this. So in fact, he's quite even lose the lead here as up the inside he tries to make the move. Ben Pitch gets shuffled out wide, and now he's under threat from 1, 2, maybe 3 cars down towards the back straight. And now it's car 22 with Skull Club Racing. So that would be Jack Constable at the wheel, of course ex-TCR racer, and the inside he goes to make the move. Ben Pitch gets again shuffled out wide. In the mix there too also is the 97 car, that's the front car, and at the end of literally lap number 1, they're 3 wide already.
And that's only for third place. Of course, the beauty of the grid is that you're not having the faster car ahead of the slower cars. You've got a whole jumble of them, and so 3 wide for third place, as you rightly say, side by side for the race lead. Mikey Porter goes right round the outside there from the third row, and the Morpheus Racing car, that's the sort of black and yellow hued car, comes out in front. So that's 3 different leaders in a lap and a bit. Within second place then now Jack Constable. 97 goes through in the almost Marlborough livery, and that is Scott Mansell at the wheel of it. And he's under attack as well now, because for 249, Will Abraham, who was on the second row of the grid, dropped back and he's trying to push forward. He comes up to have a go. Mikey Porter leads the way. And Scott Mansell look under attack. To the inside line there goes Abraham, but he can't find a way through, although that said, Mansell goes a little bit wide. And Ben Pitch, who led the opening lap, has fallen back into 5th place. And he's coming under attack as the cars now go up towards Britain's once again. So this leading sextet trying to get away a little bit. Really hustling it over the curb and giving the tyres some grief there was Scott Mansell. GT tyres on which they run. Further back in the pack, you can see number 98 there looking to try to make a bit of progress. That is Andy Bennett going first for Team 3 Motorsport. More tyre squeal down at Hislops. We've now kind of got 2 waves, haven't we? The top 6, then a gap, and then everybody else for 7th.
Yep, and it's Beggar, and there is the Uvia Hoppers Lotus car, as I expected, picking its way through. He's already on the back. I think he's got past the Greenheath car just back in that mix. He's now up to, he's also past Signature RV and a few more cars. Looks like he's well inside the top 10 as they head over the crest. But now out in front, it is going to be car 195. So Morpheus Racing then, which does currently have at the moment Mikey Porter at the wheel, but he runs wide. This now gives the chance for Jack Constable to try and squeeze up along the inside. Now they go wheel to wheel, side by side down towards the right-hander at Lodge.
But look at the damage on Porter's car already. That was before Druid. You can see the damage on the right front. So he's been wide somewhere and off the road. And that's taken half of the front of the splitter, if you like, off the car. It's not affecting him greatly, but he has got damage, hasn't he?
Yeah, and by the way he's driving, he's trying to rip the other pieces of the bit off if he can, but this is only barely 5 minutes into the race. This is exactly how it should be. Up the inside, again goes Porter. Constable looks for the switch back on the exit, can't make that stick. For third, there was also a bit of a switch around between Abraham and Scott Mansell. There's also duel on for fifth now between PLR Racing Ben Pitch and the 14 car of Greenheath just behind. That's Paul Turner at the wheel. So these six have broken away initially, and that second group is headed by the 225 car, which is the Uvia Hoppers Lotus car, which is already up to 7th position.
And two drivers, two quick drivers as well, which is arguably better than three with two quick and a slow, because you can kind of match the pace all the way through the race.
Yeah, Ted Bradbury, I was mentioned just before we got onto this race, very quick driver, debuted in the Mazda MX-5 Championship last year, had barely learned how to drive a car with a manual gearbox, and was already sticking it on pole position for his first MX-5 Championship race ever at the beginning of last year at Silverstone in the damp conditions. Got his first podium that day, and now he's charging through, watching his teammate Michael Porter 1-3. For second place, Will Abraham up the inside to make a move on Jack Constable. Lets him have the place because he knows it's a long race, although how they're racing, I don't think they realise it's 4 hours rather than 4 minutes, but they're still going at it pretty hard. And Scott Mansell now, very experienced racing, all sorts of racing cars driven, but he did say, I think on a social media post before, that the most exciting car he's ever driven was in Fun Cup, proving it now. Is up the inside for third place, so Jack Constable leans on him over the curb on the exit. They somehow don't touch on the exit of the right-hander at Old Hall. Down the hill they go again. They're still side by side, and I feel like we might be saying that phrase probably constantly for the next 4 hours in between pit stops, because again, Mansell doesn't want to give it up. Over the curb, still side by side, the exit Cascade, down Lakeside. Mansell's not going to give this one up easy, and why would he? They are still side by side yet again down towards Island Bend. Someone's got to give here because it's a very tight corner, and round the outside looks Mansell. They still haven't touched. They are still side by side. A little glance between each other. Lock up from somebody in front into Shalor's hairpin. They are now just about almost still side by side, but now finally Constable capitulates, lets Mansell through up into third place eventually.
They are now not officially side by side. These cars are the right kind of size for Oulton Park, aren't they? I don't think you could have done that with GT3 cars 2 weeks ago, but you can with a Fun Cup chassis. So yeah, great driving. Scott Mansell then goes through, putting him up into then now third place, and Will Abraham in second place. Remind me what his background is, because he's done the fastest lap and he's staying with Mikey Porter. He's going very, very nicely.
Can't remember 100% myself, but it's definitely not his first rodeo in Fun Cup. He's definitely done quite a good thing. His co-driver Scott Jeffs, I believe, unless it was the other driver in the mix, but it was him or somebody else he drove with, was a prominent truck racer at one point. So that car's been quite a regular front runner in recent seasons. So it's quite a fast peddler, seems to be Will. So we'll let double check exactly what his background is. I'll have a look on the old Wikipedia somewhere to figure out some of the information. But we'll going second place and go with Mike at this point. So it is literally 2 by 2 by 2 now for first, third, and fifth.
Yes, they're pairing off a little bit, aren't they? And Scott Mansell's car, again, so late on the brakes, hustled into Lodge Corner, coming up towards the line. So Mikey Porter leads, but I don't think he's going to lead for much longer, because Will Abraham is all over him like a cheap suit now. Goes one side, goes the other, to the outside line there, the orange and white car of Will Abraham. Mikey Porter has to stick out his elbows as they wriggle their way out of Old Hall Corner. And even though these two are squabbling, they're not really being caught yet by Scott Mansell, who is in third place. In fourth place now for 22, Jack Constable, that briefly led early on. And Mikey Porter, damage or no, still leads the way. What about those further back, looking to try to make some progress? In fifth place now, Ben Pitch, and he was the man that led off the line. And in sixth place for Greenheath, Paul Turner. The leaders are side by side. On the outside line there, tries to go Will Abraham, but he can't level, can't get up alongside, and has to slot back in as they turn their way now up towards the Shalor's hairpin. But Mikey Porter goes a little bit deep into the corner, does he? Only fractionally deeper than Will Abraham, so they come out of the corner together. Do you know what? Lapri might not be that far away, because as they come down to Britain's, you've still got a couple of cars only going into Old Hall Corner. One of them is Guido Basile, And actually, having said that he's in penultimate place, he is coming under attack from Gary Summers, so you've got a battle not to be last. They'll be the first two to be lapped. It's not imminent, don't get me wrong, but they've dropped quite a long way off the tail of the rest of the pack.
Each other hard enough, the easier it's going to be for the forecast start to catch up and make it a six pack once again for first position in these early stages.
So Mikey Porter then, having dropped back into second spot, trying to fight back. So Will Abraham, the new race leader.
Julian Porter isn't one to... essentially, Julian Porter has what's called a receiver system. So essentially, it's a one-way radio system to talk directly to the drivers.
Yes.
And the great thing is, when he announces that a driver has gone past track limits, it doesn't just go to one driver; it goes to everyone. So if someone's transgressed, everyone knows about it, and he tells everyone. So there's no trying to hide track limits because you will get found out. Julian will tell everybody else, and then everyone's going to look at you thinking, "You're getting a penalty soon, sunshine."
Yeah, the receiver has been a great addition, hasn't it, to all categories, whether it's oval racing or circuit racing.
It's the extra element of that, of course, in any endurance race, trying to negotiate your way through the traffic and the time that you either gain or lost based on people get held up, or if you drivers make it purposely or not difficult to get through. But thankfully, at this occasion, the back marker does move out of the way. That's smart driving from 107, so that will be Guido Basilate moving out neatly out of the way, and he does so also up the inside into Shell Oils for Mikey Porter. The lock up there, I think, from Mikey as he turns through Shell Oils. Again, just trying to nurse that front section damage once. So you are right, it is Julian Floyd.
Who is the clerk of the course for the Fun Cup.
Yeah.
But Julian Thomas, and just to confuse things, he's race logic as opposed to race receivers. And he is very, very quick, and he'll get into his car 2.52 in the second stint. So the point that Scott was making is that the Uvio entry of our pseudonymed pair, will try and unravel why they insist on the pseudonyms in due course, but they're going to get a stop-go penalty of 5 seconds. Now, that has to be taken within 3 passings. You can't bolt that onto a pit stop, I'm assuming.
No, and it has to be taken at the designated box, which is usually here at the top of the pit lane.
Right, okay. Interesting that they've fallen foul of that, because, yeah, okay, you've identified the fact that they've been a little bit ragged, or at least Dion has been a bit ragged, but, you know, they haven't gone charging through the field at the same time, have they? It's not like they've been off the road and gaining place after place.
No, but I think that's just the UVA way. They just drive it in their own way, and then, as I say, they're in this main to have fun, essentially, in terms of racing, and that's what they do. But they're happy just to win champions along the way, which is the funny thing. They're probably in it for the laugh, and they happen to be multiple champions alongside it, which is the ironic thing. So this is now a possible change on, well, it's in some cases it's elementary because they're going to get the stop-go penalty anyway.
Yes.
So this is simply just for them just passing track at the moment. It's for position, but also kind of for the sake of it, because he's attacking Scott Mansell here down towards Druid. Has a look, puts himself into Scott's mirrors. Not going to make it through that way.
He was though, wasn't he? He was a special constable on the other van.
You're right,
Nigel Mansell. Gosh,
the funny was that was the first thing I thought when you said Constable Mansell. I knew he was going to say that.
Yeah. Anyway, Constable, comma, Mansell, comma, Pitch and Turner. That's the sentence I was aiming for in the first instance. They're still together. They haven't pitted, so they're going to come in en masse, I rather fear, and it's going to get really, really busy in the pit lane.
Yeah, but again, that's the Fun Cup way. They will do that, and I think that's probably the answer to several questions about is they going to do this? Just the Fun Cup way. That's it. Well, apparently Rat is racing in second gear by the sound of his going back.
I got the hint, yes.
I think we got the hint, yes. So Rat is racing in for their stop. A few more pit calls also. Wave 9 are in as well. They're in 15th place, also in this a bit further down, a couple more teams. Yeah, the only 2 cars we have in now is, I think, Wave 9 is left, but you're right, I think the second half of the pit window is going to see quite a lot of cars descending en masse.
Which is based just down the road. They used to have a paddock shop. In days of old, when I first came to Oulton Park, they used to be the Chater and Scott bookshop, Demon Tweak shop at the paddock gate.
Yes.
It's now John Mitchell that runs it. Alan is not in the best of health, but the family business, I mean, it's a hugely successful enterprise, as anybody will attest from the old days of the Autosport International show, that enormous Demon Tweaks facility that used to be there.
Yeah.
But Jason, John, Guy, the 3 sons of Alan Mitchell, all very
nice. That would suggest that when they come through with their next stop, it'll be driver only rather than fuel again, because they're going in on fuel tank now, so it'll be quite heavy, but it means they can go longer and save time with their next stop.
Yeah, so a long stop now, but a short stop, relatively speaking, next time. What you want, I suppose, also is your last pit stop to be a short one.
Yes.
So you're buying places into the last stint.
Yeah, well, the very least, if you're going to make a fuel stop, it's only 1 churn or half a churn rather than 2. 2, 4, 6 hits the stops, and away it goes. Also in Rat's Racing. couple of others who've been going. There's a flurry of activity. Also has been the driver 61 car, which is Scott Mansell and Kevin Mansell. So Kevin handing that car back to Scott.
That's another one that's dropped a long way back, though, isn't it? Kevin Mansell took it over, as you say, but it's fallen down the order quite markedly to 14th place when he pitted. That was close.
That was close. That was 107 coming in as Ratcliff Racing came out. And apologies if you heard any reaction from that on the camera as they were leaving. So we want to get a closer look at that. As you say, camera angles can be deceptive as green comes in. This is the exit from Ratcliff Racing. So they get released. 107 comes in.
A little bit. Yeah, I think actually when the team elected to release the Ratcliff car, it didn't look too bad. The problem was that then 107 had to slow to come into its box, and therefore the gap that you had suddenly hard entering.
Second place team are in, so Morpheus are in for their second stops. That will be Ted Bradbury handing back over to Mikey Porter.
They kind of jumped up into second on the pit stops, if you like, by staying out late. That's what's catapulted them up the order. But it's really towards the end of the race that we'll get a proper idea of who is exactly where. Another one with damage has just gone across the line, which is 214, the seed data car that Matt Hogg has been behind the wheel of most recently. So MJ Tech leading and have rejoined, and the Uvia Hoffman's car is now in, so it's going to lose its second place presumably. As the driver change happens. Relatively short on fuel, that car. Now, is that a bit of smoke coming out of the back of somebody down towards Island Bend? And if it is smoke, is it mechanical or is it bodywork on the tyre? And there, look, damage to the front.
Riley Phillips with the 4th and 6th stint. So Chris Devell might drop back a little bit here, but he's holding on as best he can to hold up P6. And I think the efforts of Simon Rudd have really helped to get him as high as possible in the order before he then decides to hand over to the two drivers who he may well argue are more better suited to get into that part of the stint than he would be. So he carries on. And no real change there. Just to fill David in when he comes back. The car that stopped for its new front nose section is now back out drama free, so it's got back once again.
And 2 now, lap 51. Quarter of an hour or so away from the halfway mark. There is the aforementioned Harry Mailer in 49, and the fastest lap of the race still claimed by Will Abraham from earlier on, coming towards the end of that first stint when the fuel was coming down, but that's still the fastest car that we've had in the race. Now people getting into a rhythm. Number 1, the reigning champions car, just got over the timing line. It's in 6th as you look here at what's left of Scott Mansell's car, and 97, the driver 61, is in 14th place overall right now. So that's another one that's lost quite a chunk of time from where it was early on in the race.
But a case in point is Olympian, because they were the champions. They had it with 3 drivers, and Chris is again as the 3. Chris would admit that he may well openly admit that the 2 drivers he's got alongside him, Simon and Riley, are faster than him, but he still does a solid job. But he knows that when he hands over to Riley and Simon, that they'll get the job done, and they're 2 quick drivers that can get him back up there. And Riley Phillips has been able to. They've been set their strategies in such a way that when they do manage to hand over to Riley, he's in a position where if there's like a 20-25 second gap, he can just start chopping it down by a good few tenths or about a second or so per lap, and bring that gap down from what was 15-20 seconds down to anything. And he's made a couple of very late, kind of with minutes to go, moves to the lead when he's managed to make that fast and work. And that's that work alongside, at least last year with Christian when he was at the wheel, and Chris and now Simon doing his thing, is what makes them now a 2-time champion team, and other teams who just find that they have a pair that works or a trio that works.
Yeah, because I mean, one of the pluses of this is the more drivers, the more you can split the costs between you.
Yeah.
But maybe as it's got more competitive, I'm not saying the fun has gone out of it, far from it, but if you want to win, you need competitive drivers. You don't want anybody that's going to be 4 or 5 seconds a lap slower, do you, because of the hill? Oh, off the road, look, has got 99. Now that is in stint 3 Andy Bicknell, and he's done barrier damage, and I would think that would be a safety car because it's going to take some moving, and that tar barrier needs work.
Yeah. So now they're keeping an eye on the end of the pit lane to watch the lights at the top of the runyourfeet.com Jaguar safety car.
That's going nowhere. You can see the rear wheels were spinning a second or two ago. Driver's okay, but he's absolutely stuck. Driver's briefings were being held in the same room that we're broadcasting from this morning, and all the clerks for the different races were saying, keep off the grass. It is so wet, so muddy, so boggy. The lights are on the safety car. That said, it's been given a shove. Fair play to the marshals. They've done a really, really good job there of getting that car mobile, but it's the barrier damage that would be the concern, I would have thought. The car is almost having to reverse back onto the racetrack, which isn't great. That's about heart in mouth. But the yellow flags, if the drivers are respecting them, will do the job. You can see the witness marks. He's just lost it coming out of Cascades.
They're thinking, well, I'll make a free pit stop. So I think Jamie's about to get Armageddon in pit lane, I think, because he's got about 23 Fun Cup cars, all with teams and busy. That relatively quiet pit lane right now is probably going to be very well populated in about 7-8 minutes time.
Yeah, Armageddon, read Carmageddon. Now there's another one with damage here, with lots of bodywork falling underneath it. That is 210. That bodywork's going to fly if it's not careful, and that is Paul Taylor at the wheel. And that's been off somewhere.
Yeah, plenty of mud and dirt there as well.
Not much bodywork left. Safety car lights are off. So we're not going to get the safety car, but we are going to get 210 into the pit lane.
Right, he's got past the PLR machine, so that's worked for him to be a lap on there. The other car's the Seed Data car, which has also had its own adventures at some point throughout this race. See all the dirt, the turf that's been pulled up after the incident or the excursion that the 99 car had at that point. So we come now to the wiggle there for, looks like, up to the Michael Porter there. Nice to keep it straight and narrow, and that's the 146 car skating off the race, keeps it off the barriers. And that must have been due to the reduction of any kind of front downforce they had. Of course, that it's remnants of what was a front bit, and
go on,
squeeze it out.
Go on, you can do it, you can do it. Go on.
No,
you slow down to avoid the barrier, but then you lose the momentum, and it's stuck fast.
Yeah, spinning its wheels, and as he gets a push, that ain't going anywhere anytime soon.
We are a Nat Cropchit away from the halfway mark, as race control opens the third pit window. So we're going to have a window that opens. We were discussing barrier damage a moment ago. We're now going safety car. So bang on window 3. The safety car is being deployed. There it is.
Ones that at this reduced pace are possibly losing out. Right, pit calls are in,
the leader is in.
MJ Tech. This is going to be.
It's got a free pit stop.
Yeah. At least, because they're going to come back out, and then they will go at their kind of whatever designated pace they can go at to catch up to the back of the train again.
So there it is. Scott Jeffs to get back in.
We'll be gone, don't worry.
In fairness, I don't think that car would ever have caught the safety car, would it? Because even if the safety car hadn't picked up who it picked up, that car was so far back around the lap it could still have come in anyway.
Yeah.
So it kind of would need now the safety car to pick this one up for the restart.
So that's Jeff's getting back in there. Slight little stumble. Yes. Away it goes. Quick refine and shove it away it goes. Rattis Racing also in as well. But I imagine that this queue of cars, when it comes around, is going to make its way in. Quite a few of these cars are going to make it in pretty quickly. You can see now that there's a lot more orange vests and drivers suited up with helmets that are waiting for cars to come in. The Rattis Racing car also heads out as the recovery vehicle goes down to, I think, also recover the PLR racing car. So to use an old ancient term, don't screw this up, essentially, is that in front. So Ulti's got an hour and 41 minutes to hold on and a couple more pit windows to hold on to this one. So there's about another 20 minutes until we get to the next pit window. Rattis Racing making it up the inside of one of the back markers. And
he's on the lead lap. Suddenly, it's a different race. And you can see Ted Bradbury almost being squeezed onto the dirt there. He's on a mission. Doesn't care who's ahead of him. He's just got to get past, go after the race leader. Squeezes up the inside there, look, of 155 as he tries to get past Peter Ratcliff. And he can't. And Ratcliffe is now delaying him. Now, frustratingly, this is for position. But it's frustrating for Morpheus because they're kind of out of sequence. If they can clear Ratcliffe, who's doing nothing wrong, he's defending his place as he's perfectly entitled to be, but that Morpheus car wants to get on with the programme and unlap itself, and now to the inside line goes Ted Bradbury down towards his lops. I think he's going to do it because there was a gap. Yes, Peter Ratcliffe didn't make life overly difficult, so the Morpheus car goes through. Ted Bradbury is on a mission with a capital M and underlined in bold red ink.
Indeed, and the next car in front of him, ironically, is an EDF car, but it's not the one he wants. It's the other car in the mix. It's the 104 EDF Motorsport for hire car, but it's not the 246 machine, which he needs to get past to get another point. There is the other EDF car in front. There is Morpheus. There is Rassus Racing. And then the Seed Data car, which is only a couple of cars back, it's there in 9th position ahead of Red River Sport now. Now that it's had its stint from Johnny Molan at the wheel of that car, which has been put in, and now Gareth Williams is back behind it once again for his second run in this stint.
He knows what he's got to do, and he's just doing it. This is a really, really impressive stint.
And the key thing as well, in many cases, in order to get himself back into the place he wants to be as best as possible, he has to go for moves like that.
Yeah,
obviously
absolutely.
calculated, but he has to keep going and be forceful. You can tell the way he's thumping the curves in that one, up still in 7th position, and he's got to try and make him as much gap as he can on EDF Motorsport in front. So he's just picking off cars left, right and centre because he knows he has to get his head down for the rest of this stint while he hands it over to Mikey Porter, who, as we know, isn't a slow driver, but in terms of that, Mikey will do his bit, but he wants to do his part in the partnership in that side to be in the best possible position.
We've had to change to 3rd place. Sorry to interrupt you, Scott, but number 1, have a look, has now, that's Riley Phillips,
yes,
for the first time, jumped ahead of the Uvio Hoffman's car. So we've had a change there. We've not seen Riley Phillips in the race thus far. He's been saved to the end, and you can understand why, because he also now is in a big, big hurry, and he's closing up onto the Greenheath car, which has gone back to Gary Bate. There it is, the sort of brawn Formula 1 livery of the white and yellow. So you've got that battle building up quite nicely. The leader comes over the line. So through has just gone Scott Jeffs, and that last lap was a 2 minutes 1.9. Where's a Morpheus lap? Across the line has just gone Ted Bradbury, and he's done a 2 minutes 1.4. So he's lapping quicker than the leader, but not demonstrably, not enough to easily put him on the lead lap.
Yeah, but he's certainly making a point that had the race kind of gone more in his favour, that he would certainly be in the mix there to trouble MJ Tech and Co. This lot might not necessarily all be fighting for position, as that was Jig Greenheath at the side of driver 61. Kevin Mounsell gets a shove, and he's carrying on as he meant to pick up from in 2023.
He's the kind of gun for hire, isn't he? Comes up on the inside then, working his way through the traffic. So number 1 there, Riley Phillips goes through, so he's up into 2nd place in the race. And not only, of course, is he carving his way through these back markers, but as soon as he gets clear real estate, his lap times may well be quicker than the race leader. So we may have lost Morpheus from the lead battle, but we've got a different lead battle shaping up.
Well, that was, I think that's the PLR car, which is trying to pick its way through, back past and unlap itself from several cars in the mix. I think it was Greenheath in driver 61 going wheel to wheel again and possibly bumping fenders, and then the PLR race knock on the door saying, "Hello, can I come and get a lap back, please?" and kind of making itself a nuisance when it doesn't mean to be, and just on the pace.
There is one back marker only between the lead car and Morpheus Motorsport. The way that Ted Bradbury is going, I still think he can get his lap back here. You're looking at what's going on for now 2nd place, number 1 that goes through. So the lead gap is 15.5 seconds. That's the one to monitor. The 2 behind are a lap down. So 3rd is the Uvio Hoffman's Motorsport car, black and gold car. In 4th place then is Greenheath. In 5th is CGI. And up into 6th place, 246, which we've got Vlad Vasiliev behind the wheel of. So Morpheus is your first one that's a lap down. In other words, the first one that's not on the lead lap, but is attacking. And its last lap time, just by way of a guide, was a 2 minutes 1.4, another 3/10 pull back. So little by little, he is creeping up onto the tail of the leader to try to unlap himself.
Yeah, and all it takes is another safety car to bring him right back into it, because of course if he's on the same lap as MJ and he gets lucky with the safety car, brings him right back into contention.
As long as he's unlapped himself.
Yes.
If the safety car comes while he's still behind, he's snookered. Yeah. And he's kind of got to get this done before the next pit window opens. So that's the pressure, because when the pit stops happen, you can get yourself shuffled out of the order. Depending on whether you go for a long or a short stop, they'd be advised, really, if they can, to do a short stop to make sure they're on the lead lap.
Yeah, just quick, there was PLR running indeed though the exit of Britain Chicane. As see there, the exit, that was Olympian squeezing past Skull Club, so that will be him getting past Russell Joyce, who's going to get stuck in between amongst 2 champion cars now. Fabio Randacci wants to try and pick his way past Uvio Hoffman's Motorsport.
Another few more laps and he's going to be a bit closer still. It's been a really good recovery.
I hope you'll agree with me, but if he keeps up this rate, I would like to see what he can do if he progresses that far in a GT car. Good to pick up, and he's got just over 10 minutes and a bit of change before they make their stops to close that gap in to be able to unlap himself. But in many cases as well, thinking about it, pure MJ Tech, yes, it's a lapped car, but are you going to let him through that easy?
No,
No.
probably not. But equally, you don't want to get involved in an accident. If you've got somebody like Scrappy Doo trying to find a way past you, then you come.
Yeah.
I wonder whether he's been given the hurry up.
Yeah.
See what my gap is again between him and the back markers.
Yeah, you get the stop right now.
6.3, 6.8. It's a very unofficial effort to time it out of the window, I promise you. But I just think that the lead car is just picking up its pace a little bit. That last lap was a 2 minutes 1.4. Morpheus 2 minutes 1.7. Yeah, it's advantage race leader again, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe on the radio they have gone to him, right. With his situation, the car behind you is someone who's trying to unlap you that you are racing. Just, if you wouldn't mind, just give us a bit more pace and try and push it a little bit. And Scott Jeffs, of course, experienced hand himself. He's got obviously a ton more experience of what he's raced compared to Ted Bradbury having only a year in cars. But even so, it's youthful exuberance against the experience. And at the moment, the experience is winning at the moment. But of course, it means that Ted could probably pull a storming lap out of the bag somewhere. But I imagine in terms of trying to get a lap back and get themselves in that best possible position, there's probably some calculations going on down at Morpheus thinking, what do we do?
True enough, as you look at the Greenheath car there in the middle of that trio, trying to lap 155, the car of Peter Ratcliffe. For Greenheath at the moment, it's Gary Bate. And he's a bit stuck as the car's come out of Shell Oil's corner. Down to the chicane, and race leader currently on lap 72, still with over an hour and a half to go. We've got 2 more stints still to come, so 1 more round of pit stops. Down towards his lot comes Gary Bates in the Greenheath car, wriggles up on the inside line. So again, we've got a sort of calm before the storm situation now. The pit lane is quite quiet. Bodywork line on the road, and the race leader is about to emerge from dear lead once more. So through, you're looking admittedly at Nickerbrook, but over the timing line now, Druids, you're looking at over the timing line has just gone the race leader. The Morpheus entry is chasing on behind. I've not got the watch on it this time, but to the eye, Morpheus looking closer on the road. What does the lap time suggest?
Half a second better.
Okay.
2 minutes 2.0 for MJ Tech, 2 minutes 1.5 for Morpheus. So Bradbury's turned the wick up a little bit. I'm not sure what would have caused him to be a little bit slower because there was any traffic, so he was just pushing a tiny bit and making a mishap or two, but it was advantage Bradbury and Morpheus on that lap in terms of gaps. That's probably come down to about roughly 6 and a bit seconds.
And if the team then say to Ted Bradbury, right, you're on it, you're half a second quicker, that inspires him to be 6 tenths quicker on the next lap, doesn't it?
Yeah, incentive. Oh, that's a wiggle. That was, I think that was 2.46, I think, exited Old Corner. If I can get my identification right, he was 2.46 on the exit of Old Hall. I have to keep it straight in line in front of a rather bemused Rasses Racing watching that happen.
So they're all going to have to come in on this next lap?
Yes, or at least after they've passed the pit board once, as we mentioned. So they'll pass it once, and then once they've done that, they can carry on, but they must pit in at the end of that lap after they've passed the pit board. Otherwise, they will incur a rather severe slap on the wrist from Julian Floyd and get a penalty. That's back for second, making his way past 157 again. That's the Grace GMR Eco car, which currently has at the moment Rob Corrigan at the wheel, so he'll hand back over to Gracie Mitchell for her last stint of the day. And the next car they're going to try and put a lap on now, I was trying to figure out that, that's the Red River Sport car. That's the Johnny Molan, Bonamy Grimes and Gareth Williams car, and that will be for this current stint Gareth Williams at the wheel, which means that he'll be handing over to Bonamy Grimes for his second stint. There is the 200 car, Red River Sport. I was trying to work out what kind of retro livery that was maybe kind of inspired by. It's got like a retro kind of like a, it's not really golf colours, but it's something similar or something else, but maybe I'm sort of thinking about something else and thinking about other things. There's,
one moment.
He's taking 1 moment just to calculate something.
No, I've got an idea about the livery.
He's got an idea about the livery, so he's going to have a hunt for that one. Right, into the pit lane comes Morpheus. This is the key one then. So Morpheus in for their second to last stop. Bradbury then going to hand back over to Mikey Porter. So let's see what they do, and if they've got fuel or not racing. Look, there is a fuel churn in while the mechanic's hand is.
Oh dear, damaged suspension there.
Ooh, yeah.
That definitely is crabbing. 104 it is, that you can see, which has now got Adam Cunnington at the wheel.
Yeah. Not that it's time to give praise, but fair play to him for driving it how he is and not falling foul of anything, because he's certainly getting there.
It's a bit like watching a drift car, really, in a sense, but without the smoke. But
yeah.
I rather fear that's done for the day. How that has happened, discuss.
the big question I ask is, did he jump or was he pushed? Did he do it by himself? Did he get some help? And using contact like that, not to be churlish too much, but that's...
Mansell is back at the wheel. That car never really recovered from losing time in the second stint. And the race leader is about to emerge from Deer Leaf. I'm keeping an eye just before we go to Jamie in the pits on the Morpheus car, because I just want to see if it's got its lap back, and I don't think it has, because the leader has gone through. So yes, Morpheus still a lap down, and actually by a bigger margin, if you like, being a lap off the leader. Right, Jamie I think was poised in the pit lane. Thanks, Jamie. Bit of a fright in that, isn't it? If the suspension just lets go. I suspect that might be after 3 hours of hard racing, but even so, it's a bit of a scare. Before we went to the pits, I was getting worried about Morpheus. I reckon they've lost time on the pit stops. They're further back in terms of track position than they were before that most recent pit stop.
And lap time wise as well, they're not on all great respect to Michael Porter, he's not currently on the same pace as Will Abraham appears to be, because Will's now got back into the car. His lap time last time was at 2:01.6, compare that to a 2:02.5 for Michael Porter. So it looks as though at this point in time, just in terms of driver advantage, Scott Jeffs and Ted Bradford are evenly matched, but at the moment, at least in this early part of the stint, it looks as though the MJ Tech has that pace advantage again.
Interesting, isn't it? Because you'd have thought Mikey Porter would be, with his experience, the gun in the car. Maybe it's slightly unfair because you're putting him up against an equally quick driver, but you know, Mikey has a very, understandably, big reputation. So we've got 1 hour to go into the last hour of the race. There's another pit stop due, and then it's fully boots to the end.
Yeah, and then it's back to the wall. See how this all plays out. We go down towards Cascades. And there's the 246 car. Now that car in 6th position. Of course, it's quite far. It's way ahead of the Morpheus car anyway in 7th place. But even so, ideally would not like losing time. But if you could find 2 worse cars to race than 2 former champion teams, Race Logic, which currently has at the moment at the wheel David Denyer back again. So Julian Thomas has done his 2 forced. Race Logic, meanwhile, they've been silently moving up the grid. They're probably sat in 9th at the moment, and they are the kind of 3rd best of the cars, which are a lap down on the leader, which is not too bad. And they are actually, this is positioning back actually between these two. So Race Logic are battling with Ratters Racing, who are literally just in front of them, and the separator is the 246 car. So this battle here is another on-track scrap, because when they came across the line last time, there was only half a tenth between them. There's Ratters. They're just behind the 246 car there in blue and white. There it is, there's Race Logic. And this is another on-track fight, which again is still going on the same lead lap this close after 3 hours of racing, which is brilliant.
Absolutely, and as we've been saying, just about everybody has had somebody to race with all the way through. About the only lonely car which has gone past us at the moment on track over the line, which is 111, back in the hands of Ian Wood. But even that car is still well placed, 4th overall. So there is 246 in 6th place. And so the best of those off the lead lap is effectively Morpheus, isn't it, in 7th place overall. And needing to do something clever on the next round of pit stops. Or it needs the lead car to have a moment. But so far, Will Abraham and Scott Jeffs have proved to be pretty bulletproof, apart from that early penalty.
Yeah, apart from the early penalty, which is what scuffled it before. Those dark clouds are rolling in towards them. There's a little peak of blue in the sky, but it's mostly grey and overcast, and it's held off for the time being. Of course, that small sprinkling of rain we had earlier on, but it's thankfully any potential rain has abated itself, and it's kept pretty much dry for the whole race, which is a bonus because it means we get to see proper competitive racing at that point. Now, Race Logic are not sailing up to the back of Ratters Racing as I thought as they would do, partly because they've got PLR Racing, who are some laps down after Ben Pitch's excursion off the road at Island Bend. I think that's another reiteration of the 5-second stop-go penalty for Wave 9. I don't think it is. That's appeared a couple of times ago. That's not a big stack penalty. That's just them probably just could be the last straw in terms of you have a 5-second penalty, you need to come and serve it. And see there that the PLR racing car in fact actually has got some new bodywork since it was retrieved back to the circuit, back to the pit. So it has now got a new front splitter and is back to essentially full health. Now it has Ben Pitch back at the wheel of it, so Neil Plymouth will finish the stint, finish the race in the last stint.
The gap between 2nd and 3rd has extended, bearing in mind they were trading places before that last pit stop. It's about 5 seconds, 4.5 seconds of a gap, 2nd to 3rd. So who did we put back into number 1 for stint 5,
Simon
Rudd again, isn't he?
Yeah.
He has made good his escape over the car. Steve Ruston getting very spectacular. 2.52, you can see. David Denyer pressing on. So that is 8th and 9th. He's chasing after 155, which is the Ratcliff family car. John Ratcliff now at the wheel of it. I think that's one of the closest fights on track at the moment as the leaders have gone by. So 52 minutes, but we can't really start counting down yet because we've got another round of pit stops before the end of the race, and the last round are at the 200 to 210 minute mark out of the 4 hours.
Yeah, and I think 207 continues to circulate, and I think Julian Floyd's blood pressure is probably going further up and up and up, thinking why are they not listening to me and coming to their pit for their 5-second stop?
Because it's on the timing screen, it's on the display.
Yeah.
Yes, if he had a rag, he's probably lost it now.
All right, there it is. There is the miscreant, 207, wave 9. Into the pit lane, please. Come in number 207, your time is almost up, you have 5 seconds.
Well, I mean, that's a message that has been there for, I would say, a good 10 minutes, if not more now. So, yes, you can understand the race director being less than amused. Lead gap's going up, look, 20 seconds. It's crept back up again to MJ Tech versus Olympian GRD. Down towards his box they come. Bit of a slide as he clips the curve. David Denyer in the V-Box car, 2.52. So, with 51 minutes and change remaining and more pit stops due, it's really after that we'll start to get a better idea, a final idea of what might change.
So we'll wait with fascination to see how this one plays out. I have to say, in terms of competition between the races, I think maybe just because it's some of the teams coming back in and drivers, this is genuinely, I'll hold my point in a second. Here comes the Race Logic car, the inside goes David Denyer. Nice and simple pass into Lodge Corner, and up he goes into 8th position. This has genuinely been, in terms of cars on the lead lap battling for positions, it's been one of the most, and it's generally competitive anyway, but this has been an especially competitive Fun Cup race to start the season. There have been some good ones in the previous few years and good closing battles. I think the closing stages to last year's season finale here, we had about 4 or 5 cars on the league route scrapping amongst each other, was great, but there's still 6 cars on the league, that lots of battles going on. It's quite fitting. I can hear a car that's possibly come in. Now, Craig, you tell us that 207. Yes, it is. So 207 has finally heeded the call of its 5-second pit stop, but I fear that its reticence to do so, maybe not on purpose, I'll offer some sympathy, might well incur the particular wrath of Julian Floyd, I think, after the race. You might want to go and have a conversation with them afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, normally you've got to serve him within 3 passings of the message appearing. He's done more than that, but the penalty has not become any more draconian. So maybe it'll be a conversation afterwards rather than anything more serious. But yeah, normally you get 3 strikes, don't you? You go past the line 3 times once the message is there. 155, having lost out to the Race Logic car, now coming under attack on the road at any rate from the PLR entry. Ben Pitch at the wheel, but they're on different laps, so it's not really a representative battle.
Shed some light on this, and I wasn't sure if it was another penalty or not. Jamie should shed some light on it. That was a second stop-go penalty.
Oh, okay.
So, because he says here, they already served one, but then sped in the pit lane and copped another immediate stop-go, which is the one he's just served.
Right.
So, kind of ignore everything that I've just said, which is all complete rubbish, because Jamie just verified that there was a second penalty. So they've had 2 5-second stop-go penalties, and we can proceed as normal.
And possibly that was why the second one took longer to serve, because they were thinking, well, I've already done that.
Yeah.
If the message hadn't got through about why. There, look, to the inside line goes 146, which is the PLR racing car. Ben Pitch back through on the inside, and then goes a little bit wide up the curb. He's another one trying to buy back those lost laps, of course. They're in 19th place after being marooned on the grass for a while. Brake hard, going to Old Hall Corner, and back on the inside line goes 155 then. So that puts John Ratcliff back into place. As I said, they're on different laps, but neither wants to be behind the other. Lead gap's going up. all the while. So when he gets into the lead, the second place car, Riley Phillips, he's going to have to work his absolute magic, isn't he, to get that car into contention again.
Yeah, just a very quick check-in on one of the matters we were looking at quite a lot before the last pit stop window, which was the fortunes of MJ Tech in the comparison. Morpheus. At the moment, it's still MJ Tech with the pace advantage. Last time around, MJ Tech was 8/10 quicker than Morpheus, so I fear that unless there is an extreme change in fortunes, that it might well be 7th, might well be all she wrote for Morpheus, and that might not be any higher that they're going to go, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and it's not even that they're catching anybody else either, are they? They're not catching 2:46. I mean, we've been focusing on getting the lead, getting back onto the lead lap. That in itself doesn't get them any more places.
Yeah.
You know, they might be able to get onto terms with EDF for 6th. What's the gap there? What are the lap times like there?
Well, it looks like I don't think EDF have crossed the line yet, because of course we've got 90 laps to go. But even they are roughly on the same. No, they've gone through already. But they said the gap was 53. I know they are on the same laps. It's 53.89. So they're on the same lap. But even so, lap times lap time was identical last time. Right? It was 2:03.6. So at this point in time, it looks as though again, all they can do is hand it over to Ted at the final stint, let him work his magic and see where he ends up.
Ian Wood in 4th place is being given a driving standards flag, so the track limit warnings are coming, and he is the loneliest of the lot, I think, in 4th place, but nobody to fight against. In 5th place it is Greenheath, and in 6th place it remains EDF Motorsports as the race leaders then come through once again. So the race is now on to lap 91, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself in saying this, but for MJ Tech as the leaders, it's almost a case now just ticking off the laps. There is the 5th place car, that's the Greenheath Brawn livery. Tyres will still be able to work, and these are a treaded tyre anyway, so all-purpose tyre if you like. So not had the rain blow anywhere else, but I think this is probably just a cameraman's plea for sympathy over at Shell. Getting wet. Can I come in? I've been out here all day. No, 42 minutes. Man up. Right, into the pit lane has come 104 again, which is the EDF Motorsport car, Cunnington and Cara, after the suspension dramas. An exploratory lap served, and they're going to have another look at the car. But bit by bit, the leader is getting away, isn't he now? So another lap has just been put in the book by Will Abraham, and they're looking increasingly solid in the lead of the race.
They are indeed, and just hope that they can survive this last pit window and not have any more further dramas, touch wood. It will be, hopefully for them, plain sailing all the way to the checkered flag, and it'll be a great way for them to start the season. Look at the teams that I've sort of offered up in any pre-race notes that were going to be pre-season favourites or one to look for. Not on purpose, I should think still, but I knew that MJ Tech were a pretty strong, decent enough team whenever they turned out in their particular races. But having looked at the calibre of some of the teams and the former champion teams that we've got, including of course Team Olympian and Uvio and GCI and other way onto the mixed Race Logic back of course as well to do possibly hopefully a full season if they are here for the full year. That MJ Tech were there, but this seems to be one of the seasons where they're evolving into a true front-running squad now. You've also got in there John Morpheus Racing, who have always been on the pace. It's nice to see we've got some new
down to a manageable level, I think, for David Denyer, but he's going to be mindful before that last round of stops as to where the seed data car is, and that in turn has got 155 tucked up behind it. 155 now being driven by John Ratcliff. 246 is the car in 6th place, and a spin. Around goes the Summers entry, and thankfully is avoided, but it's off the road. Not for the first time, not for the second time. And now it's got to get off the wet grass. So 158 fires up. They were able to do it earlier on. Gary Summers has had a pretty checkered day. Remember, they had to pit for new front bodywork with that car. And getting off wet grass at Druids, it's going to be a challenge, but he's done it. He's got going. And keeps to one side, lets the quicker cars go. Brewers and E-Types and Sierra Cosworths. And it's a long list of cars that he's got in the stable. Another, like many out of Fun Cup racing, graduate of the Nigel Greensall School of Tutelage. But Julian, a very good racer in his own right these days.
Nigel Greensall's another one that we're missing from the good. He's a Fun Cup regular. Not only he raced in it for several seasons, but also he's run his own team. In fact, he has actually got to the point where he has been on track racing against his own team car, which is a bit quite ironic for him. But Ratters Racing with a squeal of tyres gets underway from what was, when they came into pit lane now, in 10th. Nigel Greensaw is another stalwart of the championship, and I think you probably reel off a list of cars Nigel Greensaw, there's probably just tick the ones that he hasn't raced rather than the ones that he has, because everything from F1 cars to anything, literally anything he's raced, there's probably very little in most.
Scott Jeffs at the wheel, leading the way. Although the timing tower says that the Uvio Hoffman's car was second, forget that, because as we know, it has pitted and therefore fallen away a little bit more. So number one will be back up into second place. The question is, what's the margin? And part B of the question is, can it do anything about bringing down the gap through an inspired Scott Jeffs? But the MJ Tech car has led pretty much since the first round of stops, hasn't it? Once it got itself into the lead, it stayed there.
Yeah, and that's worked out. And of course, the whole sequence with the pits, with the safety car, worked out in its favour. Of course, and there's a factor there. But it does beg the question, of course, is what if that safety car period hadn't played its part? How different would the race be? Would Morpheus be in the mix a bit more? Would Olympian be in there? Well, Olympian would still be in that position anyway, but the bigger factor would be Morpheus, who's back in 7th and currently showing us a lap, if not 2 laps down by Office, because they probably haven't crossed the line yet, and Ted Bradbury at the wheel. But it's intriguing to figure out how and where they would have placed. There's the Ratters racing car going past 214, and that's for position. That's for 8th place.
Yep. So which of the Ratcliffs have we got into 155 for the last stint? This is David Ratcliffe. And he has just, as you say, put himself up past Matt Hogg. And
then also puts a lap on the 103 car, which is Axiometrics, which now has Greg Evans in the wheel.
So 24.5 minutes on the clock, as you can see, and 21.9 seconds is the lead margin. So it's come down by about 40. So it was a decent enough game, coupled with Riley Phillips' quick laps, but he's got to be taking 2-3 seconds a lap out, hasn't he, to stand a realistic chance of winning. He can't be 10th, otherwise he's not going to get there in time.
Yeah, and in all fairness to Riley, with the pace that he's got, at the Samtel we know that it's not going to be 2 or 3 seconds a lap that the 246 car's going to lose, because 249's going to lose, because Scott Jeffs is quick enough to hold him off based on the splits we've seen before. We're hearing here is now that the rain now is quite heavy at turn 1, we're hearing now, so it's now dry at Shell, so it's that sort of rain cell is moving by Ted Bradbury, so not so much surprise given that he's obviously hustling along to try and get as much time as he can in this last stint. The other one being 49, which is the Golf livery signature RV car, so that's what to keep an eye on too. Again, if they're not careful, they might get a penalty.
More wipers on, certainly, and more spots of rain, little teeny weeny spots of rain on our window over here now as well. So if it does become properly inclement for the end, then it's going to be a real test for the drivers, because some want to push and others just want to hang on in there. The leader, there he is, coming out of his lot, coming out of Britain's towards his lots, is being mindful of the conditions, and on the one hand, with 22 seconds in hand, doesn't have to push absolutely flat chat, but equally can't back off so much that he becomes caught.
No, I mean, if you look at lap times to check in with those, I mean, even going through that traffic part right to the previous lap, but MJ Tech was 0.8 better, so 2 minutes 1.5 compared to a 2:02.3. So it looks as though that, again, we know Riley's quick. He's an established quick driver in this championship, one of the quickest, arguably, in this championship. But just on this day at the moment, MJ Tech and Scott Jeffs have got the measure of him so far. Just keep it clean for the last 21.5 minutes, and touch wood, essentially, it really is his to lose.
What about Hoffman's versus GCI? The last lap for Ekip Sudamin was 2 minutes 3.6, 2 minutes 3.4 for Craig Butterwood. So it's come down fractionally, but with 11 seconds, it's going to be, again, big chunks of time found, isn't it?
Yeah, he needs a mistake to move you in order to make any inroads on that. So ultimately, I think GCI will do well to do so. I think look at some other teams that have done okay. I might have a quick glimpse at just where they started and kind of give some comparison to where they're currently ending up at the moment. So I mean, one of the biggest kind of movers in the race, obviously the cars towards the back, given Team Olympia come back from 24th to 2nd at the moment. Uvio started back in 18th and they're currently 3rd. GCI Racing were back in 21st, they're currently 4th at the moment. And Greenheat started back in 7th and up to 5th, so there's big gains for some of the cars that you'd expect in this championship, the established cars that are expected to move up towards the front anyway. Like I said, the cream in this championship really does rise to the top eventually in terms of that pace. Quite impressed by the Ratters race as well. I think they came in first time last year, and I think ever since then, every single time they've been in a race weekend in Fun Cup, they get out, and each of them have just got this massive beaming smile on their face because they absolutely love it. It's fantastic. Which is reminding me, there was that that small story about Uwe I was going to mention before. So it's a picture 3 years ago. I think it was. Hopefully nothing happens between them, so I can go through the whole story. It's worth it, hopefully. So Uwe are battling PLR for the lead towards the end of the race, and they make contact. In fact, speaking of Uwe, there they are. And, that's GCI.
So that's actually changed for third place. So Uwe has lost about 11 seconds in a lap, which is either a spin or it's a problem. I think it's a spin.
But he's on the same sort of pace, but at the same time he's got to keep on pushing and attacking. And again, these on different parts of the circuit, they've got different strengths here, because at least on cornerettes there through the chicanes, Fabio seems to be a bit more on pace than Craig is. He has a little look to the outside line, puts himself again on the ideal racing line, forcing to go wide. That's how hard he's pushing then. Massive thump at the curb on the first part of Hislop's, now through Knickerbrook, and again looking for that switch back on the exit. Now back on the Parrot again, up through Clayhill. You can see how racy he is. He's all over the back of him now, and that's usually a passing spot there. He's brave. He's certainly got some bravery here that he's taken this morning. He's going down the outside to make the outside run for Druids. So exciting, I can't speak. Down the outside goes, but actually can't make it stick. And Mailer's not going away. He's thinking, yeah, I know I'm a lap down, but this looks fun. I want a part of this.
He's 12th overall, and of course he wants to push on. He wants to get past these and see if he can catch anybody else. To the outside line, then Uwe Hoffmann's on the inside line for GCI's Craig Butterworth, and the Uwe Hoffmann's car given a bit of hip and shoulder, I think, there, and it was roughed up. So Mailer has gone by, but that puts Randaccio, in quotes, off the road, and a driving standards flag has just gone out to 2:14. Which is the Matt Hogg, Mike Devlin car. So Mailer, look, has quickly cleared both of them. So he's caught, he's passed, he's away. And now the Uwe Hoffmann's entry, you can see the back of it there, tries to catch up once again to Craig Butterworth for third place. That battle is not over with 13 minutes on the clock. Whereas for MJ Tech Racing, Scott Jeffs is looking a bit more serene for the race lead.
Just looking at some of the timing screens, I can probably have a small idea as to probably why Harry Mailer, probably that reason to get past wasn't just for fun or for kind of entertainment. Looking at the timing screens, he was probably trying to chase down Johnny Molan in the Red River Sport car, because he was back in 11th place. So ultimately, whilst he was ironically lost time from cars that were ahead of him in the order, which is slightly sort of it's a strange sounding when you think about it, but ultimately Harry's getting his head down, and also, of course the gap is 14 seconds to try and make up, but in sort of 13 minutes, again, unless there's a Uwe-esque mistake that loses them a lot of time, it's not going to happen. This is Kevin Mountson probably getting the fright of his life here with three rather rapid drivers, thinking, I want no part of this. Forward, Fabio chooses that point in time to try and go down the outside. It's 2 by 2 like Noah's Ark down towards the Hislop chicane, and it's Fabio going down the outside, but straight off goes the Harry Mailer car. Again, he loses one half of his front splitter, so it's like join the club here. Back around the outside goes Craig Butterworth. Fabio shows the edge of the road. Don't think so. Out you go to the outside of Knickerbrook.
That's 1-1. You did it to me at Lodge, I'll do it to you. So we'll call that quits, right? Okay, move on. So now the Uwe Hoffmann's car is stuck in the traffic, and Harry Mailer goes back through on the inside of Kevin Mansell's car, and Craig Butterworth's got a little bit stuck. So third place back in the sway of Uwe Hoffmann's then. The black and gold coloured car has the place, but now that Craig Butterworth clears the traffic, let's see what he can do. He's not given up yet. Harry Mailer having outbraked himself, then going down towards Hislop's, and you're right, of course, because he is, even though he's on a different lap from those around him, his focus somehow is on trying to catch Johnny Molan. Now that's not going to happen, I don't think, because he's a long way behind. But Harry isn't here to drive around at 80%. He's here to go flat out, and that's exactly what he's doing. Now Randall is on his tail as they come out of the corner, and Craig Butterworth thinking, that's it, you hold him up, because then I can catch up, and then I can have another go for third place.
Yeah, essentially what he's waiting for is the rubber match basically between those two, because to have 1-1 is now the decider. Arguably, Fabio leans against Harry Mailer, and Harry won't appreciate that, of course, but neither will Fabio, thinking, you're a lapped car, what are you doing? And now Craig's thinking, which one do I push? Do I push Fabio? Do I push Harry Mailer to kind of annoy him further? What do I do? In terms of eventually he decides to give Fabio the push, and they're back in front of them. And so ultimately there's, ironically, the only car that really isn't frustrated here is Craig Butterworth. He's thinking, I'm loving this, because Fabio's getting caught up with Harry. Harry's getting frustrated because he won't let him go. So Craig's thinking, right, I'll just sit here, wait for the fireworks to happen, and I'll take full advantage.
But now they've cleared Harry Mailer once again. It's the pressure on Butterworth to do the job. Big curb strike by the Uwe Hoffmann's car, which just unsettles it slightly. Craig Butterworth on the tail then as they come up over Hilltop. Down to Hislop, goes to the outside line. It was here a lap ago that we saw the Uwe Hoffmann's entry get a little bit squirrely, but this time comes in a bit deep, Does the door open for Butterworth? Not quite. More tyre squeal. Don't forget, they've done the whole 4 hours on these tyres. Nobody's had a tyre change because they're a good, durable GT tyre, so they can certainly stand the abuse that 4 hours of hard racing gives them. And Uvio Hoffman's then keeping GCI at bay. Butterworth lines up for a go on the inside line as Ted Bradbury has just done the fastest lap of the race, so he's certainly not giving up.
And not only that, I think it's the only car in the actual tyre race to dip sub 2 minutes. Impressive stuff. 1:59.912. Boy's got pace underneath him, so he's got a possible move here. Craig Butterworth up the inside, gets shoved onto the curb. They make contact into the right-hander at Lodge. And I thought for a second Craig Butterworth was going to give him a bit of afterthought. I'm thinking, right, you think you should close the door on me, have some of this. Now Mailer comes back into the mix. I think for those, if this wasn't for position, just a hard race, and just for any points or anything, this is just good hard racing between the three. Butterworth sends it back down the outside again. Randaccia doesn't want to give it up on the outside, gets squeezed out onto the curb. Here comes Mailer again, little spit of flame from the upshift. And this is probably amusing Kevin Mounts here, watching, thinking, this is great, I'll just sit here and get the popcorn out for the next 10 minutes and watch this all happen.
Well, the best seat in the house, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Through Cascades they come then. So it is Butterworth back up into third for GCI, but they're so evenly matched, those cars, you can never really get away. What he needs is Mailer to get past, he's almost bump drafting the Uvio Hoffman's car there. He needs Mailer to get between the two and get in the way, then he can possibly escape. But now I think the Uvio Hoffman's car, they've learned, haven't they, that Mailer is a force to be reckoned with, so you've got to defend. You can't let him have a sniff of all of this. So tough call, really, for 225. They're trying to attack, they're trying to defend, but they're defending from a back marker who's quicker.
Yeah, and this is for, of course, the most important thing. It's for the final step on the podium. So this is really for the out-and-out battle between these two. Of course, in terms of the top two, which we've almost not properly slightly forgotten as we keep watching this battle, MJ Tech still lead. It's still a 25-second gap to second place. They go side by side for third again. Randaccia wants to go down the outside once more, but again late on the brakes. And Butterworth really went late on the brakes. I thought he wasn't going to stop for a second, but he manages to get it anchored up in time. Takes the racing line. Fabio's looking for that undercut through the corner. Mailer sits back and just keeps his powder dry for a second.
And we've got heavy rain coming from Lodge Corner. Oh, look at the other side. The rain is now very heavy indeed. So it's very wet at Druids. It is very wet down at Lodge, and this might throw another spanner in the proverbial as they paddle their way out of the corner, and way out wide onto the grass goes the Uvio Hoffman's car. That's going to cost it time, but it stays in the right direction. So Craig Butterworth stays ahead as the cars now come down towards Lodge Corner, but it's much more slippery, much more treacherous than ever it was.
Yeah, that's rain at a 45-degree angle now. That is properly coming down with the wind on top of it. So this is really a dramatic change in conditions. And of course, not to kind of jinx anything, but is this also going to change the complexion in terms of how the top two deal with the conditions as well? Because of course MJ Tech has a 25-second lead, but it only takes one slip in these instantly changeable conditions and it could throw it all away. But
it's not consistent. Look, it's much drier on the avenue compared to what it's like on the start line. So here they think, right, I can press on again. And then, whoa! If you're Craig Butterworth, you can't because he's lost traction and he's in the gravel. All of a sudden the car snaps away.
Oh, and Uvio's off as well.
Absolutely. Now, is that more than just rain? It's almost as though there was some liquid on the road, but the pair of them have gone off the road. Butterworth in the gravel. The Uvio Hoffman's car has a charmed life and goes out the other side, but the road greasy enough to catch out two of the top drivers in the race. And Craig Butterworth's efforts have come to naught because he's stuck in the gravel bed. 7 minutes on the clock, and now we get to the point of wondering whether or not the race has to be neutralised to get Craig Butterworth out of the way. And if it's going to be neutralised, it would be more than 6 3/4 minutes, which might mean game over. Either way, the race leader there with the orange chevron on the front of the car goes through, just over 6.5 minutes on the clock. And they paddle their way out of Oulton Corner. Right, so MJ Tech leading the way, and the margin, there's the yellow flag zone. Look, Marshall's busily working down at Cascades. Now that car's going nowhere. That's going to need more than a push. So the margin is 26 seconds, and it's decidedly horrible now.
Yeah, it is really coming down on the pit straight now. In fact, the wind is also coming as well. The Fun Cup flags are also fluttering at quite a gale. And I think the key thing I'm bearing in mind is that if that can happen to GCI and Uvio, it can happen to a leader. It can happen to anyone. So,
but it didn't look that wet, that part of the road. It was weird, wasn't it? Almost as though Craig Butterworth, came across some liquid. Not just rain, but like a spillage from a car. Clearly he hasn't, because others have got through without drama. But the fact that all of a sudden both of them went off, just slightly surprising. Anyway, there's the race leader. who is now wetter than a mermaid's flannel as he comes out of Britain's, and that is Scott Jeffs heading up towards the hill-top section of the circuit, then down towards Hislops, and as long as he keeps it in the right direction, he's home and wet.
Took me a split second to think about that. Yeah, it's going back to that incident. It almost seemed as though that it was GCI had the incident. It almost seemed like Ubio went off in sympathy.
Yeah.
It was like, kind of like it sort of happened and went, oh, okay, we're trying to avoid it and got distracted.
Almost like he was measuring his pace
Yeah.
on the car ahead. So I'll brake where you brake, and as Bosworth got it wrong, he got it wrong. Yeah.
Look at that. Just yeah. It not to obviously predict anything, but the rate's coming down. It would not surprise me in the slightest if even 5 to go that they call it, because there's wet and then there's conditions where the drivers will think this is getting too much, and it is properly pelting down. Look at the amount of water.
But you drive to the conditions. People on the road have got to drive in this at the moment. They can slow down, making the drivers. They're on a I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just playing devil's advocate, because I hate seeing races stopped.
Yeah.
I still have this belief that even if it's wet, the drivers on a treaded tyre can drive to the conditions. And so, yes, the lap times are going up. But now you see that the race has got a different dimension. Now we're seeing who the wet weather maestros are and who is brave in the conditions, who is sensible in the conditions. I know it's not much fun for everybody being out in it, but can, for example, Riley Phillips press on enough to bring down the gap? You know, the race could, the checkered flag I think is being ready. There's another car off at Lodge Corner. Ooh. We might be heading for an early checker here.
Yeah, PLR was very all over the place, kind of wiggling all over the place. The car that went off in the gravel was the Morpheus car that went off the road in 7th place.
I don't think we're heading for a red, but I think we are heading for an early checkered flag, because the marshal on the gantry in front of me has it in his hand, so we might be a minute or two early. MJ Tech is through onto lap number 110.
And there it went through Island Bend just as 210 tries to recover.
And we've got 2 cars off at Old Hall Corner.
And then
Morpheus, and now a red flag is being shown, I'm afraid, because we've got more cars off in more places. So now it's not the conditions so much as cars in dangerous places. So Morpheus is off the road, and there's another one which might be PLR. I can't quite see out of the window, but 3.5 minutes on the clock, red flag, the race is being stopped. We've got 2 off at Old Hall.